Hello and welcome to Campaign Chronicles, France 24's regular countdown to the presidential election. For that, I'm joined by our French politics editor, Mark Perelman, and by Olivier Salazar-Winspear, who's here from our media desk for reaction from the press and on the blogs. Thanks for coming in, guys. Let's start off with you, Mark. One subject really dominating the headlines over the last couple of days. Marine Le Pen, the far-right leader, did very well in the first round. And Nicolas Sarkozy has been accused of going a little bit too far in terms of courting her votes.
Yes, both candidates, Nicolas Sarkozy and his socialist rival François Hollande, are courting those votes. And yesterday night, they were on a big political show, one after the other. They will be debating next Wednesday against each other. And they both addressed those voters in a much more direct way for Nicolas Sarkozy, but François Hollande did as well, try to talk to them, to reach out to them without appearing to do so. Let's see what they had to say.
François Hollande and Nicolas Sarkozy take their presidential duel to the airwaves with two different strategies for winning votes. French President Nicolas Sarkozy is courting the far right, following a surprisingly strong turnout in the first round for the National Front candidate Marine Le Pen.
More than 6 million people voted for Le Pen, and they are not far-right voters. They voted for Le Pen because of the crisis, because they agree with some of her ideas. I want to tell these voters that I respect them. I'm not in a position to tell them what to think because I don't live in a difficult neighborhood.
Sarkozy, a center-right candidate, needs strong support from the far right to overcome his second-place position. Meanwhile, socialist frontrunner François Hollande is distancing himself from the National Front, a party known for its anti-immigration and anti-Europe stances.
The National Front can legally participate in the election, but I cannot say whether this party operates in a democratic way. It does contribute to the political debate, and several million people voted for the National Front. This party is allowed by the Republic, but it is against some of the Republic's values.
Sarkozy is on course to become the first French president in more than 30 years to lose a bid for re-election. Opinion polls put him nearly 10 percentage points behind Hollande. Sarkozy, known as a strong debater, could gain more votes next Wednesday as the two candidates come head-to-head in a televised debate.
So Sarkozy's strategy of reaching out to the right or even to the far right has prompted some vivid reactions, starting with the leader of the so-called left front, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who arrived fourth in the first round, and he had this to say this morning, hinting that Nicolas Sarkozy was reverting to words and ideas from World War II, the Vichy era here in France. Let's take a listen to Jean-Luc Mélenchon.
Nicolas Sarkozy is driving the right to extremes. We are witnessing this in France now. It's a matter of public health that we fight this. If he brings all of what he's saying into our country, repeating the language of collaboration, it will be dramatic. Before the war, there was no problem with the Jewish community. It's a political invention of the extreme right that was forced into the mindset of the older generation. And now they're trying to do the same with immigration, saying it's a problem, and it's the French president who is daring to attempt this.
So clearly annoyed, angry, we should say, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, but this is to be expected. However, within the Gaullist camp of Nicolas Sarkozy, there are also some second thoughts. Some politicians are saying it privately, but some are beginning to speak out. Former Prime Minister Jean-Pierre Raffarin said, well, you know, we have to wait until May 6th, which is the runoff, to draw lessons, hinting that this might not be the good strategy. Another former Prime Minister, Dominique de Villepin, who broke up with Nicolas Sarkozy and tried to launch his own candidacy, penned an op-ed today in Le Monde, and he said that he was frightened by the right and worried by the left. Frightened by the right, especially by the strategy of Nicolas Sarkozy, this idea that he should run after the National Front rather than stay on the Gaullist course. And this is obviously a very vivid way of saying Nicolas Sarkozy is wrong-headed. And this as well to a recent headline in the communist paper L'Humanité, which compared Nicolas Sarkozy to Marshal Pétain, again, the Vichy era, prompted the candidate, Nicolas Sarkozy, to react very strongly tonight at a rally in Burgundy in Dijon. Let's take a listen to how Nicolas Sarkozy is reacting to this criticism thrown at him.
Since Monday, I'm supposed to have adopted a harder line. Since Monday, apparently, I've made my policies more extreme. I haven't announced a single new policy since Monday. It's a trial by speculation, a Stalinist trial like in the good old days.
Well, meanwhile, before addressing socialist supporters in the city of Limoges, a major rally there, François Hollande stopped in Bourges, where a music festival is taking place. He met with French band Zebda, who've called their fans to vote for Hollande. The socialist candidate also explained what his policies would be regarding culture. Here's more with a report from Valérie Le Bon and Clovis Casali, who got to talk music with François Hollande.
Campaigning involves meeting with all parts of society, and candidates are always keen to win over artists. François Hollande is no exception. The socialist leader headed to the Printemps de Bourges music festival to meet with French band Zebda. And the presidential hopeful is in the mood to talk not just politics. Mr. Hollande, what kind of music do you enjoy and listen to?
I like the old French classics. It's a mixture of new songs. Groups like Zebda and others. I also like traditional music. Voulzy, Souchon.
Did this remind you of music festivals you went to when you were younger?
Yes, I've been to a lot. At that time, these were big concerts. I'm from an older generation, the generation of the Isle of Wight festival.
Politicians also have groupies, it seems. After signing autographs and posing for photographs, François Hollande explained his vision of France's so-called cultural exception. He believes in the importance of subsidizing music, cinema, arts in all its forms. Ideas to appeal to these crowds.
I am living in France. My husband is French, and I think François Hollande would be really appreciated in Ireland.
Why?
Because Sarkozy is not really very well appreciated in Ireland. And I think François Hollande is somebody that will represent France in Ireland.
During his morning at this music festival, François Hollande was able to measure the level of support he enjoys among French youths. Of course, he didn't forget to also take time to talk to the parents.
François Hollande getting down with the kids there. Let's say hello to Olivia Salazar. Winspear has been monitoring the election in the press and on the internet. What have you got for us, Olivia?
Well, there we saw the campaign trail as it is, and there has been a bit of last-minute news from not the campaign trail, but the almost campaign from Dominique Strauss-Kahn. The interview, an exclusive interview he's given to The Guardian, has been published about a few hours ago, actually, where he says that he was naive to believe that his political opponents, that's Sarkozy's camp, wouldn't try to sabotage him. Now, basically what he says in this interview is that the whole incident in the Sofitel last May was perhaps orchestrated by Sarkozy sympathisers or those close to him, and it was done because he was such a threat to the presidential campaign this year. So I'll be back with more of that in about an hour or so in the Media Watch. But back to the real campaign. We're all looking at the debate next week, the televised debate between François Hollande and Nicolas Sarkozy. Today we've seen who will be directing that debate, who will be behind the cameras, and it's a man called Jérôme Revon. Now, this was Sarkozy's choice. This is a man who already directed the debate between Sarkozy and Royal. That was in 2007, and many people seem to think that Sarkozy came out of it quite well. Going back to that election, if we cast our minds back, the woman who was moderating, one of the two journalists, is Arlette Chabot. She was interviewed today, where she gives her thoughts about how the debate goes on, and she said it's very, very controlled. It's basically a platform for their policies, and we shouldn't be seeing any real game changers on Wednesday night. We'll just be seeing them sticking to what they already had prepared to say.
Olivia, our thanks to Mark Perelman. That's it for Campaign Chronicles. Do stay tuned here on France 24. More news coming up very shortly.